Great British Railways, where have you gone? The big fanfare of Grant Shapps and Boris Johnson claiming that they're going to reshape our railways and make them work better for you and I as a passenger wanting to get from A to Railway B. But first, before I explain what I've been doing my little research to find out where are we with Great British Railways. Are you still there? Let's recap and wind back the clock and start to tell you a little story about our railways. Our once great railway system was built by private companies, but it was nationalised by the Transport Act of 1947 and was run then onwards by British Railways until it was privatised in 1994. The infrastructure, passenger and freight services were separated, and the infrastructure was privately owned and operated by a company called Railtrack from 1994 to 2002, when it was renationalised and transferred to Network Rail. Goods, that's freight, are operated by a number of separate companies, the descendants of those created during the 1990s privatisation. But if you remember, the King did a speech about our rail system. He didn't give it a time frame though, and he was talking about Great British Railways, the idea of our government overseeing our rail transportation system, from Transport for London, Merseytravel and any sort of tram services.
And remember, please mind the gap.
But that started the ball going, the juice is flowing, everyone's excited, like you and I, the enthusiasts, to find out, are we going to see the double arrow coming back? And is our British rail system going to repair itself? Because privatisation just didn't work. So what will we do? What's the idea behind all this? Well, they will take on Network Rail, although technically Network Rail is run by the government. I suppose they could become, I don't care about PR, but the fat controller of our railway system, and they will be in charge of the infrastructure and everything, the railway stations. Don't know about the trains. Suppose they could stay with the leasing companies and the government could sort of do a deal with that. But generally the whole country will transform itself into one unified brand known as Great British Railways. Now this is a reaction due to the unsustainability in the early 2020s during the COVID-19 pandemic, with all passenger train operating companies going to what was called an Emergency Recovery Measures Agreement with the UK and Scottish governments, which transferred almost all the revenue and cost risk to the government. Effectively, it was renationalising those services temporarily and rate freight operations, and its decarbonisation and expansion plans all became a major key player within the Great British Railway. As Zoe explains.
So we're here today at the Freightliner terminal in Birmingham. Some of the benefits of an inland freight terminal such as this one in Birmingham is that it reduces congestion on the road. It takes lorries off our road and enables more goods to be transported by rail.
Our terminal here in Birmingham serves the West Midlands region, and we move currently around 100,000 containers to and from or through the facility here in Birmingham.
Another benefit is the decarbonisation aspect of rail freight. By taking lorries off the road, you can reduce carbon emissions by up to 76%, which is huge. It will have a huge impact on the environment.
So there's a lot of tonnes of CO2 that aren't being emitted into the atmosphere because of sites like this in Birmingham, where we have a real hub for container traffic in the West Midlands. An ambitious rail freight growth target is really, really important. It's about driving the right behaviour. It's around ensuring that rail freight, there is an incentive on Network Rail or in future GBR to support rail freight growth. It's around developing the policies that underpin that growth target as well. Realising an ambitious growth target is not going to happen by accident. It starts with the target, but then very, very quickly we need to start talking about the policies that underpin that target. How do we realise that? How do we make rail freight more competitive, more efficient? How do we support better access to the network to make sure that rail freight can grow and unlock its potential, reduce carbon emissions and be a real driver for the green economy?
Yes, a rail review was carried out. This was Williams Shapps Rail Review back in 2021, a knee-jerk reaction of the kerfuffle of COVID and the railway system, which, let's be honest, has not been working as it should. In fact, to be honest with you, it's quite embarrassing. You've got a lot of staff on the railways who work so hard and get very little back out of it. With delays, cancellations, you get railway companies that don't hit targets, yet they get bonuses. It's so dynamically broken. But they reckon this idea is going to save our rail system. A rail system that the world used to envy. When you look at other rail systems across the planet, you kind of think, we're the ones left in the sidings. The Department for Transport gave notice of a £6.5 million contract to make for a strategic change, which was a delivery partner or a rail reform programme, which is effectively letting Andrew Haynes and Peter Hendley, the current CEO and chairman of Network Rail, the overseeing duty of the establishment of Great British Railways. And in March 2023, the government announced through a big fanfare type of polling voting system that the headquarters will be based in a beautiful town up here in the north called Derby.
Derby is the centre of the East Midlands Rail Supply Chain Cluster, which is the largest supply chain cluster for rail in Europe, potentially the largest in the world if you look at the density.
We are surrounded by a wealth of companies within the railway supply chain, all working on some of the most exciting and adventurous programmes, especially around innovation. It's almost like a wealth of capability condensed into one location. So Derby will play an increasing role in shaping the future of our railways.
The really great opportunity for GBR is that opportunity to work more closely with the supply chain, more collaboratively, getting people together to think through the issues, the challenges, the opportunities, new technologies.
Looking wider and considering all the companies we represent across the UK, a centrally located HQ can and should benefit everyone by supporting better ways of working.
Having GBR's HQ in Derby is obviously going to bring a lot of job access to people. It's also going to help grow industry because of the other companies that are within Derby.
For me, the biggest opportunity in bringing GBR's HQ to Derby is the people that are here. So not only inside the rail industry, but outside it, you have thousands of skilled, hard-working people here who really get the direction that we're moving into, making positive, customer-focused change.
But it's also that opportunity to work more closely with other transport sectors. So Derby has got a big automotive, a big aerospace cluster as well. So it's the opportunity to work more broadly across transport on new technologies and new ideas.
Now, according to the government, which love to use the power of the pen and words to titivate and excite the public and get on board this fantastic idea of theirs, according to the government, Great British Rail will use a modified version, double arrow and rail typeface. The William Shapps plan recommended there will be a single unifying brand for the railways, and is expected that this will be a gradual rebranding over time. English regions, Scotland and Wales will have their own variants, but these will still emphasise the national nature and the big cuddles of Great British Railway. So when is it all going to be up and running as a familiar entity? Something that we can all be proud of. Take us back to the British Rail days. Are we waiting for the next general election? Are we waiting for the big king to give his nod and get the ball rolling out of the old steam sheds? Will this be another failure or a diversion, complete waste of taxpayers' money? As the Fat Controller would say, referring to the powers that be, what is all this stuff and nonsense?